Thank you for making your way across the street in a timely manner to hear from General Charles C. Krulak. General Krulak was the 31st Commandant of the Marine Corps and served on the Joint Chiefs of Staff. General Krulak graduated from the United States Naval Academy in 1964 before serving two tours of duty in Vietnam as commanding officer of a platoon and 2 rifle companies. He earned a Purple Heart, Bronze Star, Silver Star, Navy Distinguished Service Medal, and Defense Distinguished Service Medal. He served as Deputy Director of the White House Military Office and became Commandant of the Marine Corps in 1995, serving until 1999 as a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. After retiring from the military, General Krulak went to work for MBNA America as Chief Administrative Officer, and then went on as CEO of MBNA Bank Europe from 2001 to 2005. Also is a non-executive director of the Aston Villa Football Club. In 2011, General Krulak became the 13th president of Birmingham Southern College in Birmingham, Alabama. It is our pleasure to welcome to speak to you today, General Charles C. Krulak.
It's great to be here. It's great to be at this remarkable school that has such a tremendous reputation. You're blessed to go here, I'll tell you that right now. Your reputation is not just in the East. Boys Latin has a reputation nationwide, and you ought to be proud of that. That reputation is both academic and athletic. I will tell you, I played lacrosse in college right up the road here at the Naval Academy. I can't tell you the number of times I would check the roster of the teams we were playing to find out how many of the attackmen came from Boys Latin, because I was a goalie. And when I saw a Boys Latin attackman, I knew I was in for a tough day. I know that tradition continues, and congratulations to all the athletic teams here. Let me start by telling you, you're looking at the most non-traditional college president in America today. I'm not ashamed of that, it's reality. It'll probably going to shock some of your professors, but I dropped out of high school. I mean, I'm a high school dropout. I dropped out between my sophomore and junior year. We were living in Hawaii, and I love to surf. I love to surf. As a matter of fact, I was a pretty doggone good surfer. And a bunch of my friends, quote unquote, decided that what Chuck Krulak ought to do is become a professional surfer. And so I quit school to become a professional surfer. I weighed at that time 118 pounds. I was sponsored. In those days, anybody could sponsor anybody. I was sponsored by an alcoholic beverage company called Budweiser. Okay? So I'd go out and surf, and they would want to put your number on, but they also wanted to advertise. So they'd go wrap Budweiser around me. Well, my chest was so scrawny that it would wrap around 2 or 3 times. So they say, my gosh, we're not getting any advertisement out of this. So they said, what can we do to make it small enough to fit on this lad's chest? Bud. You're looking at the man, the marketing genius that came up with Bud instead of Budweiser. Let's lighten up a little bit here, guys. You can Google it. You can Google me. You'll find out there it was. The problem was that I had missed a year of school. I missed a year of school. And I remember what Martin Luther King said about keep your eyes on the prize, and I had no prize. And so I decided I got to get back to school. And like most of you, I also decided I better go to a place that is going to get me a great education, because I wanted to go on and do something with my life. And so I started applying for scholarships to all kinds of prep schools. And I ended up getting a scholarship to Phillips Exeter Academy. And I went to Phillips Exeter. And I washed more dishes, cleaned more plates and glasses, you name it. But I got through. And I ended up going to the United States Naval Academy, where, like I said, I played lacrosse and I was a wrestler. And then went into the Marine Corps. As you heard, I had 2 tours in Vietnam. I used to be 6'8", okay? I'm 6'8". I got shot twice. If you get shot, this is what might happen to you. You turn into somebody very short, okay? I then went on and had a great career, had an opportunity to serve in the White House with President Reagan, a year and a half with President Reagan, a year and a half with President Bush 41. Then ended up as a member of the Joint Chiefs under President Clinton. When I left the Marine Corps, I decided I want to do something totally different, totally different. And I'm always interested in finances, mainly because when you're in the military, you don't make any money. So I said, I'm interested in finances. And I was blessed to become the chairman and CEO of MBNA Europe Bank Limited, which is an international bank located in England. I did that for 5 years before Bank of America swooped in and ate our bank. And then I decided I'm going to do something totally different, totally different. And I went into professional sports. How many people play football here? There you go. I am on the board of the worst NFL team in America, the Cleveland Browns. It's the worst football team in America. St. Albans could probably take them 2 out of 3 games. I also am on the board of how many soccer players here? There you go. I'm on the board of a premiership club in England called Aston Villa Football Club. It is the oldest club in England. It started the Premier League. This weekend we played Chelsea. I'm not looking forward to that game, I'll tell you, because Chelsea is pretty good. I'm doing that. I've been doing that for 7 years. And my life used to be, I would get on an airplane at Philadelphia Airport and I would fly over to England. And I'd watch the Villa play, Man City or Man United or Chelsea or what have you. As soon as the game was over, I'd get back on a plane, fly back to the United States, and go, say, to the Ravens. I've been to the Ravens Stadium many times and watch Baltimore kill the Browns. Okay? And that was my life. And about 7 years into it, I realized that I was missing something really big. And my wife and I are Christians, and we were praying on what that could be. And it turned out to be we got the strong message, go back to our roots. And our roots are young people. People just like yourself. We have a passion for young men and young women. And so we applied, or we were nominated to 3 schools, University of Washington, Franklin and Marshall, and Davidson College. And on a day in 2010, November 2010, I was in the state of Alabama. I'd never been to Alabama in my life. And while I was down there, a friend said, we were in Birmingham, Alabama. A friend said, you ought to go take a look at this college on the hilltop. We went to Birmingham Southern College, fell in love with it, withdrew my name from the nomination process at those other schools, went to Birmingham Southern. Where did this passion for young people come from? I mean, very few people can sit there and say, I remember that exact moment that I realized how important young people are to this nation. And that moment for me happened many years ago. I'm going to ask, is anybody here born before 1966? Raise your hand. Anybody? 1, 2, about 7 hands. Well, for all of you that were, the crust of the earth was just cooling. In 1966, the crust of the earth was just cooling. Pterodactyls were flying around. I was a young lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps. I'd been in Vietnam for about 4 days. Normally, a lieutenant commands a platoon of about 36 Marines. I got in the country. My company commander had been killed about 5 days before I got in country. I walked in and they said, Lieutenant Krulak, you're going to be in command of this rifle company. And the rifle company had about 160, 170 Marines in it. So here I am. I'm not much older than probably some of the seniors in this room. I was 21 years old. In a war, leading 170 Marines, and I had never been in war before, and I never had any kind of responsibility like that before. But like most young men, I felt I was Teflon, I was bulletproof, and nothing was going to happen. And so, about 5 days after I took over the company, I get a radio message to come see the battalion commander who runs the whole show. I go see him. He says, I want you to do the following. I want you to take that entire company. I want you to land it in a valley that was really nothing more than dried out rice paddies, about 9 football fields in length, 3 or 4 football fields in width, surrounded by jungle-covered mountains. It had a dried-out stream bed down the eastern side of the valley. We were to land by helicopter, move up on top of the ridgeline overlooking that valley, and that ridgeline also overlooked the demilitarized zone that separated North Vietnam and South Vietnam. It sounded like a simple thing to do. And so, on a June morning, about 6 o'clock, 12 helicopters landed this entire company into that dried out rice paddy valley. And as they took off, we were taken under heavy small arms, automatic weapons, mortar, and artillery fire. I mean, it was bad. It was bad. And this great Teflon lieutenant leading the company, I'm telling you, if you don't think I got scared real quickly, think again. And I start moving that company as fast as I could into that dried out stream bed, hopefully to give them some cover and some concealment from the enemy fire. But one platoon of about 36 Marines, broken up into 3 squads of 12 Marines each, had been landed so far to the west that as they tried to get to that safety of that stream bed, they found themselves under such fire that they hit the deck. And one squad hit the deck right in the line of fire of a North Vietnamese 50 caliber machine gun. Now, if you've never seen a 50 caliber round, the bullet itself, the head of the bullet, is about as long as my finger and about as big around as my thumb. And with a matter of seconds, I had 3 Marines that I knew were dead. And I had another 3 or 4 that looked like they were wounded. And there was no question in my mind that that machine gun was going to kill every single Marine in that squad. Shift to the next squad, kill every Marine there, shift to the 3rd squad and kill everyone there. And then I was going to lose 36 Marines in a matter of a couple of minutes. I'm on my radio and I'm telling one of my platoons to move down the stream bed to get on the flank of the tree line where that gun was so that they could assault through. I'm trying to bring in some air and artillery on the suspected enemy positions. All the while I'm trying to coordinate this, bullets are flying, smoke all over the place, artillery rounds landing, the wounded are screaming. All of a sudden my radio operator grabs me by the shirt sleeve and he points out into the rice paddy and he says, look at Lance Corporal Gray. And a young Marine, he had just turned 18, so he is your age. He was a Lance Corporal acting squad leader. Normally a squad leader was a sergeant. He was a lance corporal. Had jumped to his feet. He had taken his rifle and he stuck it on his hip, just like out of a John Wayne movie. And he ran at that machine gun as fast as he could, firing that weapon. He ran about 20 yards towards the gun and then immediately cut to the right. The gun picked up off of the squad and started tracking this precious Marine. And he would be firing his weapon, and you could see the bullets getting closer and closer to him, and just before it looked like they were going to hit him, he'd shift. He'd broke a field runner. He'd go the other way. And he must have gone back and forth, probably a football field's length, just to get another 30 or 40 yards closer to the gun. When he ran out of ammunition, he'd drop the magazine, stick another one in. Back and forth. Back and forth. The wounded in that squad, and the people that were still survivors in that squad, plus the other two squads that were in such danger, grabbed the dead and they moved themselves up under the cover of the rice paddy dikes, the mounds that separate the paddies. But this young Marine, he didn't look back. He didn't know they were safe. So he just kept on fighting. Back and forth. Back and forth. And then, bam! Picked up like a Raggedy Ann doll and thrown back. Obviously dead. Obviously dead. But in the time that he did the heroic deed that he did, we had a lot of Marines saved. We got the platoon down on the flank of the tree line. I get a phone call from the platoon commander saying, "We're ready to go. You give us the word, we're ready to go." And I said, "I'm going to pop a green star cluster. It's a pyrotechnic. It's like a Roman candle. And when you see that green star cluster go up, I want you to come out of that stream bed, and I want you to attack across that tree line, and I want you to knock out every single North Vietnamese soldier there and take that gun out. You got it?" And they said, "Yes, sir." And I popped that green star cluster, and it went up in the air. I'm telling you, these Marines came screaming out of that stream bed, firing their weapons and attacking across the open area to get to the tree line. And as all that was going on, my radio operator grabbed me again. And this time he didn't say anything. He just pointed back out to that rice paddy. And this precious young Marine had gotten back to his feet. He put his weapon in his shoulder the way he was taught at boot camp. He got good sight picture. He got good sight alignment. And he started squeezing the trigger as he walked down the line of fire of that 50 caliber machine gun. Walked down the line of fire of a 50 caliber machine gun. About 5 minutes later, I got up to where this now silenced gun was. And as God is my witness, there were 9 dead North Vietnamese around the gun. And laying over the barrel itself was this lance corporal. And his fellow Marines laid a poncho on the ground. And they took him off the gun. And they laid him on the ground. And they opened up his bulletproof vest. And he had 5 entry holes. 5 50 caliber rounds went through it. And where they came out his back, they literally tore his back apart. He had nothing left. So the only thing that was holding him together was the tightness of that bulletproof vest. About 8 months later, in Washington, D.C., right down the road here, this young Marine's widow, he was married, this young Marine's widow, accompanied by a baby boy that the Marine had never seen except in a Polaroid picture. Received our nation's second highest military decoration for valor. Remarkable, remarkable man. But that's not the end of the story. This was 1966. This Marine was from the state of Mississippi. He could not go into a drugstore and put $1 on the counter and get served because he was an African American. He was an African American. He couldn't get served in a drugstore in the United States of America. And yet he died in a rice paddy in Vietnam. And I watched that, and it has stuck with me ever since that day. And ever since that day, I realized that the salvation of all of us, even as you grow older, is that individual, that young man and that young woman who comes along after you, who picks up the baton and plays the game, runs the race just as hard as they can. A lot of people ask me, how do you become a success in life? How do you become a success in life? How am I going to be successful, not just in business, but where does my personal success come from? Where does that success with relationships, with family? How do I get that? And my answer goes back to that last quote. And that is, you want to be a success? Be a man or a woman of character. Be a man or a woman of character. And I'll make it real easy for you. I will define what I mean by character. First, be selfless. Be selfless. If ever there was a personification of selflessness, it was that Lance quote. I'm not asking any of you here to run down a line of fire with a 50 caliber machine gun. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about being selfless. Care more for others than you care for yourself. Don't worry about who gets the credit. Worry about the job getting done and getting done well. Don't care who the quarterback is. What's the O-line look like? What's the D-line look like? Don't tell me who puts the ball in the back of the net. What is the defenseman, how my midfielders doing? There's an old saying, you can pretend to care, but you can't pretend to be there. You can pretend to care, but you can't pretend to be there. Be there for each other. You're not going to love everybody. You're not going to have a great relationship with everybody, but you can certainly be there when they've got a problem. Selflessness is a critical part of your character. The second is moral courage. Moral courage. The ability to do the right thing at the right time for the right reason when nobody's watching. I'm telling you right now, moral courage is probably the most important thing that any young man can have in this day and age. The ability to not let others define you, but you define yourself. You're looking at somebody who lost a year of high school, and by the way, when I went to Exeter, I got put back a year, so I got 2 years lost just because a bunch of my friends said, boy, you ought to go professional surfer. And I was dumb enough to let them define who I was. The sooner you learn to not let others define you, but to define yourself, to be who you are, and not let somebody else say, this is who you should be, is the day you really succeed. And if you can do that, you're going to be remarkably successful. As you grow older, it's the idea that you're not afraid to tell the emperor that he didn't wear any pants. Think of the multitude of times where people get themselves in trouble because somebody didn't tell them they were going the right path. And we saw probably 10 years ago a big company by the name of Enron got itself in deep trouble. Even though there were a lot of people throughout that company that knew something was wrong, no one had the guts to stand up and say, something's wrong. That takes moral courage. And that's what you need. Because at the end of the day, it's your moral courage that allows you to define yourself as the individual you are. So you have selflessness, moral courage. The third is integrity. Integrity. Your word must be your bond. Your word must be something that people can take to the bank. Integrity is the only thing you truly own. It's the only thing your parents own. It's the only thing your teachers own. You may say, well, wait a minute, my mom and dad, they own cars, they got a nice house, etc., etc. Believe me, you can have a tornado come through, you can burn your house, you can have a lot of things happen that you really don't own. You own one thing. It's your integrity. The beauty of integrity is nobody can take it from you. Nobody can come up to you and say, I'm going to take it from you. They just can't do that. The trouble is, you can give it away. And when you give it away, I can't tell you how much trouble you're going to be. It's precious to you. It's a precious, precious thing. Don't ever give your integrity away. You know, I look at you all in this room and the blessings you're given by being at this school. And I look at some really smart individuals. You obviously got brains. You obviously have some vision of where you want to go. A lot of you are really good looking. Some of you aren't. Just kidding. You know, those, to be very honest, all those traits are gifts. They're gifts. If you're a religious person, you know, they're gifts from your God. If you're not religious, they come from your environment, or they come from how you were raised. But they're gifts. Character is a choice. You're not given character, it's a choice. You've got to choose to be a man or a woman of character. And you do that, you build your character by making very hard decisions daily, weekly, or monthly. I don't mean, am I going to have Pop-Tarts for breakfast? Okay, that's not the kind of decision I'm talking about. I'm talking about those decisions that test your character, that test your selflessness, your moral courage, and your integrity. Decisions that make your hands sweaty when you know you got to make it, or your stomach starts to churn. But if you make enough of those tough decisions and you make them in the right manner, you're going to build this tremendous reservoir of strength that you'll be able to tap into when the tough times come. And you'll draw on that reservoir and you'll make right decisions based on your strength of character. And you'll be victorious. I promise you, you will be victorious. Now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, yeah, you're probably right, Joe K., but I know a lot of people who are sleazeballs, who don't have character, that aren't selfless, that don't have moral courage, or they don't have a sense of integrity. I know politicians who are sleeping with their secretaries. I know athletes who are taking performance-enhancing drugs.